Welcome to Amplified Hub71's flagship podcast. Why did you guys choose VC?
I couldn't get another job. I think that's the primary reason.
Honestly, I think VC chose me.
What keeps you sane?
No, we're good.
Yeah, I think we're pretty level-headed.
This is a question off limit for VCs.
You're seeing the region change its narrative, right? It's becoming more of a product for the world rather than just kind of consuming the different products, right? And you're seeing more technology, whether it's Fresha or Angami or kind of other technology companies kind of now export, not just regionally, but globally.
We're a multi-billion-dollar industry, so it's nice to
Crazy
say.
it, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Amplified Hub71's flagship podcast. Excited on moderating today's podcast, really focusing on AI, robotics, and the investment landscape in the MENA ecosystem. Today we have amazing two investors, Hub71 partners, joining the podcast. First up, we have Walid Mansour, who is the CEO and co-founder of MENA Ventures Partners, which is, I believe, one of the first VCs established in the MENA ecosystem. And to really share your insights, I think you've seen it all from day one to where we are today. We also have Khalid Talhouni, who is the founder and GP of Noah Capital, who's also been in the VC ecosystem quite a while with Wamda Capital and really investing into Mom's World and Kareem. So you've seen it all as well. So thank you for both joining us today's podcast. I think I want to start off today on maybe a personal note. You know, why did you guys choose VC, and when did it hit you to say, I'm doing the right thing?
I couldn't get another job. I think that's the primary reason.
VC chose us.
His partner, Walid Hanna, I just graduated from university, and I was supposed to come to Dubai for a year after undergrad, and then go to law school. And I was looking for a job, and I couldn't get. Nobody would hire me. It was like in 2007. It was a very odd period. And then Walid Hanna, actually, I met him through family, friends, etc. And he's like, we're doing this. He works for a PE called Dubai International Capital. It doesn't exist anymore. And he said, طيب احنا we have this side thing, which is a little angel fund and an angel network. Do you want to join that? I was like, yeah, sure. I had no idea what it is. And then, 18 years later, still doing it. So that's basically what happened with me.
Thank you, Walid.
Yeah, thank you, Walid.
What about you, Walid?
No, actually, I think VC chose me. I came through venture capital from the public policy side. So I was working with the Prime Ministry office here in the UAE, and being exposed to how the Prime Ministry office works, especially in the UAE, where we have moonshots ideas all the time thrown away at us to go and execute on. The topic of UAE being a leader in entrepreneurship is a very old idea. It was around 2005, 2006 when we started talking about and taking the first actions into that space. So I discovered the community of entrepreneurs, investors. We back then as a government had a mandate to support entrepreneurship, etc. And I had an earlier experience also with venture capital through my studies in Europe as an engineer, which is we tried to create a small gaming company that didn't go anywhere through one of the university incubators, and didn't go anywhere because there was no funding and no real culture. Around that time, the dot-com bubble was there, and it was really a bubble that burst and in tears. A lot of people ended up losing a lot of money. So the kind of the second stab at it here in the heart of the Arab world spoke to me more as a mission to be part of that community, do something about it. And we started MEVP in 2010 as the first venture capital company, because early on we saw the gap for this offering, and it was really an adventure. It was we never thought it would go that far, nor the industry or the complexity of the ecosystem. We thought about it as being, for me it was post MBA. It was kind of a career reset and the very cool mission to be part of. Didn't think about it more than that. Yeah, let's do it. It felt that it was needed. And also it was around the time where we were getting out of a second crisis, which is 2008 crisis. Obviously no jobs, no. It was very difficult. I remember thinking about having a career in investment banking. I had an internship at one of the top banks. We were like 9. Previous years there was 150. So it felt like it was the right time to start something new, and it was. I think in hindsight was a great decision.
And then I think you've seen it for the last 10, 15 years from an ecosystem maturing. Like 15 years ago, nothing existed, regulations or capital. When was that aha moment where you're seeing now a community or an ecosystem? When do you think that kind of happened in the last 10, 15 years?
Well, I don't think there's a singular, at least for me, I don't think there's a singular moment, but like a number of sort of escalating steps that, singular moments that take the ecosystem to the next stage, and you have that sort of aha moment. I think for me, the first one was probably Amazon acquiring Souq, which was, or you could say Maktoob with Yahoo. I think that was probably the first mini step. And then building on it, because, Souq came out of Maktoob, Amazon acquiring Souq was a major movement in the industry, because I think it was the largest acquisition of its type, and created a real momentum around it. I think the next one is absolutely the Careem exit. I think that was the largest and remains still today probably the largest exit in the region, and that created its own. And I think the other major milestone more recently is the opening up of the IPO window in Saudi for tech startups. You had 3 very successful ones. The first being Jahiz. I would say that was a big milestone, followed by obviously Ta'amini or Rasan, and then Nice One. So I think these are perpetuating kind of milestones that kind of drive the ecosystem forward. And I always think of them in those types of individual instances. And I think of the companies and founders that are created around those moments, or almost like cohorts within each other. So now, we see, and I'm sure you do the same, like over 1,000 companies a year. And compared to like 10, 15 years ago, I mean, this is quality. These are people who have startup experience, they have depth. These are not just the founders, but also the teams have, come with a lot of amazing experience tackling big problems. And yeah, so I think that's kind of how I see it. I think the other part is where I want to say 15 years ago, this was a very fringe sort of cottage industry, really sort of right out there, not relevant to the overall economy. I think if you chart the next 10 years from here on out, the technology is not a discrete sector, it's become ubiquitous. And so the transformation of MENA economies has technology at its heart. So going very quickly from this fringe type of kind of cottage industry type of offering to the main driver of the overall economies is happening as we speak. And that's, I think, the big change that I'm excited about the next 10 years.
Anything on you, Walid?
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of aha moments. You need to have these moments
Good
to
and
keep
bad
going.
ones.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, we'll talk about the bad ones as well. Definitely Maktoob. I remember I was in the US, I was doing my MBA, and I had a very good Jordanian friend, Ayman. I was talking about the deal when it came out. It was $170 million headline figure. It was mind blowing. And I was taking all the VC classes and technology classes back then. And I remember how the iPhone was out, all the apps were out, Instagram were out. You were and then all of a sudden you had also this Maktoob acquisition, and I remember us thinking about stuff we could do in the Middle East, and it was all we always thought we could localize something, maybe Arabize an app, or really remember us trying to nail this whole Middle East, Arab world expansion, technology expansion by Arabizing, and it was really, the aha moment was like, somebody has done something that actually Yahoo wanted to buy, and we were like, okay, no, this is real tech. And I mean, throughout throughout, I guess, my career in this, there's many small aha moments that are big for me. So you have the headline stuff that you talked about, and they're all amazing and crystallizing the economy. But for me, it was probably more personal journeys. So, I remember a very early deal that we got into was very successful. We were able to sell a company very quickly, a company called Shahia, founded by an amazing team. And I remember how once the exit was finalized, how Hala, the co-founder, was herself kind of became an angel investor. And it was like really an aha moment in a sense where, you have successful founders who make money, exit, and then they become themselves angel investors and catalyst of change for others. Another one, I remember when...
Are you still in touch with her? What's she doing
yeah,
now?
sure. She's still
investing. Yeah.
Exactly. See, that's the virtuous cycle of, and it's also nice because it also, I guess, the second moment is I know a lot of people who friends and family and colleagues in school and classmates in school, and when they know an entrepreneur who exited and was very successful, it demystifies the whole thing. You have this contagious effect. They start thinking like, I was with this.
I can do it.
If she can do it, he can do it, I can do it. Because all of a sudden, it's not anymore.
It's not a pipe dream.
It's not a Bill Gates who's in the cloud or Steve Jobs. No, it's your classmate, it's your friend, it's your somebody the kind of so the contagious effect is real.
And it's a good point. It's not always the big blowout figures. These small, like relatively smaller successes, actually are very impactful to
it's
people.
Contagious. It's really contagious, because when you think about it, when you hear about Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, there's no relatability to what they've done to you personally. But somebody who's gone through the same class as you, who's gone through university, or you probably go out, hang out together, and all of a sudden you see them succeeding, and you see them go through the cycle, they're gonna inspire a lot of it's way more. And I kept seeing it all the time. Even can give you many small examples. I'm sure we can dig into a lot of that. But I also remember when Anghami first launched and it hit 1 million download in 6 months time, or 9 months. I remember it was a very fast time for an app to be that downloaded very quickly. And me just looking at the number, I still remember seeing the number 1 million download. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, now you have scale. You don't just have contagious, you have scale. Of course, you got to go monetize, and that's
we'll speak about
a whole different story.
And it's like people actually touching it, right? There's so many people actually using it.
Exactly. And I can't believe that we can do this, and we have so many people, and we have markets, and we can still. So there's so many mini aha moments that personally I think are more meaningful. Of course, there's the headline stuff, and that's what builds an industry. But even till today, I keep getting. I guess if you want to continue in this business, you have to keep getting these moments to remind you of the mission, to remind you of the impact of it can get on entrepreneurs, and
because it is like, you ask the question is like, what brought you into it? I think the other question that goes with that is, why do you stay? Why do you continue in it? And we've both been in it like a very long time now. I think it's just that, because in the middle of these kind of great stories, most of what we interact with is failure, right? Like mostly people are failing, right? Like 80%, 85%. And it can be messy, and it's disheartening, and it's never pretty to watch. And you see, because the nature of our business is we, at any given time, are interacting with a portfolio of maybe like 20 to 40 founders or founding teams. And if you say 80% of those are probably not, or 70% of that are not going to make it, for you, it's dispersed amongst 30 people. But for that founder, it's their, the 10 years work or 7 years work, or they put everything into this one thing.
Their lives.
And
it's families, it's
everything.
It's relationships,
and so that kind of comes back on you when you see the failure. And it's not easy. And then with the one small success, is kind of compensates. I don't mean monetarily. I mean just kind of emotionally and psychologically, for all the difficult things that you say. It's a very powerful feeling.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've seen. I think this goes to kind of the main subject of today, right? The theme of the podcast today is game changers on seeing frontier technology, specifically in AI, right? You've seen the ecosystem mature from taking, as you mentioned, startups from the West and trying to localize them here and then kind of scale them, like your Kareems and so on. How are you seeing the new frontier tech here as in AI? Are they still like rappers that are coming from the West? Are you seeing actual regional talent build tech from here?
No, I mean, it's just, first of all, the whole AI story is, it can get you dizzy how things go fast and go deep, and there's really, really super exciting technologies out there. Just you follow the last week's news, it's just insane what's at the speed where things are. But fundamentally, I think there is a certain skeleton to how this industry is built up and how we can be part of it and use it. And I describe it a bit way the same. It kind of looks like digitization, where you had offline industries and you had the whole digital first companies, and that kind of took retails into e-commerce, banking into fintech, travel into travel tech. Pick your vertical, and was fully digitized. AI, in a sense, there is a similar cycle where you'll have AI native, AI first companies are gonna go after these industries and do it, but with the difference that we will have to know where are we playing in this part of the world. At what level of artificial intelligence are we really playing? Are we playing at the wrapper level, as you said? Mm-hmm. Are we playing at the application enabler level? Are we going deeper? Are we and it has to do with various factors. How does, first of all, availability of capital for super key. Without it, we're not going to go anywhere. Of course, talent, though you can argue that talent now can be a bit more distributed, or you can, regulation plays a role, markets play a role. But I'm very excited about it. I think we have a chance at seeing what we saw, something similar to the kind of digitization cycle that we saw past 15 years. I repeat it, but on steroid, much faster.
Yeah. We were talking about this earlier outside. So I'm in the middle of trying to formulate some form of thesis around like how to invest ourselves in AI. And I think there are a few fundamental questions around that. So the first is, for VCs, I think at our scale and our size, we're not gonna play in the you can call it like the infrastructure layer of AI, like the language models. It's not. I mean, the computational power is not. I don't think we have the capital or the resources. The sovereigns here have that, and they have access to energy, which is like a big requirement for just the compute power. So on that level,
which is a great unfair advantage if it's put to work.
So that's for the region is good.
Right?
You're seeing there between Saudi and the UAE, there's huge investments in the space, right? For us at the VC layer, I think there's a fundamental question, which is this: will AI native companies effectively be something that looks like SaaS applications, but enabled with this new technology? In which case you'll have all this kind of verticalized offering. So marketing AI, e-commerce marketing AI company, or a talent agency AI. So it becomes like these kind of vertical offerings that are in a way resemble software as a service from the previous generation, or just become software as a service with AI, effectively soming like that. You just
AI as a service.
You can just do a lot more, and they're vertically focused. The counter narrative to that, which I'm not sure which one it's going to end up, is if you take any of the kind of the large AI projects that are out there, whether it's OpenAI or like ChatGPT or any of the kind of open source ones, because that technology is evolving so quickly and becoming so powerful, will we reach a stage in 3, 4, 5 years where, or even shorter, I mean, who knows, where you just go, let's say you have an e-commerce business, and you just put into ChatGPT, build for me a full service, performance marketing solution, and just builds it for you on the fly. In which case, you make redundant all the quote unquote AI like vertical SaaS businesses. So we're not sure in which direction it's going to go, And that worries me because we're starting to do some small like application-based AI investments, but just kind of feeling it out. But we can't figure out what the offering is. I think the last thing that's interesting is not so much investing in AI as a technology itself, but really what it'll do for all businesses, whether whatever they are within the areas in which we invest. So clearly, it's massively deflationary. Like the cost of like shipping product is collapsing. Like you see it in front of our eyes in like live now. The cost of launching a business, building a product, scaling a business, it's all getting like lower and lower and lower and lower. And I think that just means you're going to see in the next few years a ton of new companies scaling extremely quickly, especially in our part of the world where the kind of incumbents in their industries, non-tech, like the big traditional firms, won't be able to react fast enough. Because now, to launch a business, you'll need a couple of $1 million, whereas maybe 10 years ago, for the same business, it would have needed like 30, 40, $50 million over multiple rounds of financing. Now you can do it all immediately with a lot less money, so much faster with a lot less capital. So you're going to have emergent companies scaling very quickly, is what I think. And I'd rather invest there.
It's much harder to build a strategy with an environment like that. So
exactly.
I guess we look forward to having the entrepreneurs tell us where they're going, because at the end of the day, this is one of the situations where you gotta even listen 10 times more to some of the projects that are coming out and some of the entrepreneurs behind them.
I think it's interesting, as you mentioned, how the region has took a forefront step to develop their own LLMs, right? Regional LLMs. And now I think one of the local LLMs has an Indian language LLM, right, to service the Indian market. So it's no longer waiting for kind of a product from the West. It's really seeing how you can develop for the region, right, compared to what we're used to. I think the kind of other question is, AI is broad. It's cross-sector.
Cross-sectional,
we're seeing different industries. We're seeing the government build out smart cities in different angles. In your eyes, where do you think AI will really disrupt in the MENA ecosystem? Which sectors are you looking? Is it healthcare? Are you looking at maybe the investment side of it?
I think cross.
I personally look at AI as I look at a utility more than it's a utility technology that's gonna get way better, way cheaper, and of course you're gonna have many flavors of it, because at the end of the day, there's so much knowledge out there, so much data out there that you can build many applications. But look at it as a utility, and the question becomes, what industry can use this utility faster? At the end of the day, you're still gonna have to build a business. You have to compete for consumers and businesses' attention, a share of their wallet. You need capital. I don't think that's going anywhere soon. Actually, maybe VC will be disrupted by
very possibly.
We'll be obsolete ourselves at the end of the day.
Flow, desourcing.
Exactly.
I mean, investing generally. Investing asset management, or investing whether in VC alternatives or public markets. That's right for it.
Because we're influenced by our own biases and experiences and past and strategy. And at the end of the day, strategy is something that we decide on. We want to go this way or that way. So I really think of it as a utility. I think of it as it's going to be spreading out everywhere. If we figure out infrastructure availability, costs, etc., it'll be everywhere. And then you start thinking about, education in a different way. Let's say you have tomorrow a full-on AI tutor. Like, why would you need, so then the role of the teacher will definitely change from X to Y. So it's just, I personally think of these things that I think of two things happening at the same time. I think of first, what is the product revolution? And here we have this utility that you can plug into a software and becomes a super product, a hero product, something that's unbeatable. And what is the trend in people? So if people decide someday, let's say, to dump the doctor and go to the AI, or dump the teacher and go to the AI, then that you have a behavioral change that's gonna and paying attention to changes will dictate where this is going. So at least for me, it's very difficult to say it's gonna go this way or that way without behavioral data on how people will use these.
I mean, it'll reshape. It has a societal impact, right? Like it'll reshape the way we interact with each other and our economy. So it's kind of both. It's like the analogy is the steam engine, the industrial revolution, or the printing press. It's not like a one-to-one effect. It's actually a multifaceted effect over a generation. So that's coming. The end result of which, I think, as Walid says, very hard to predict. I think in the short run, you can say it is most certainly a productivity multiplier, right? The one person can do a lot more. The industries that are the easiest to be impacted positively or negatively are probably, knowledge work, professional services, stuff like that, like what we do, investing, accounting, legal, like this commercial law, stuff like that. A lot of stuff that required someone sitting at a desk and looking at stuff manually. I mean, the same person now with an AI co-pilot today can 10 times their productivity. So the nature of how they work is going to change too. So
they're at core predictive tools.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly,
they're built to be predictive tools. I don't think they will replace the human experience as such. Human experience is way deeper than we kind of have different senses that we eat, we drink, So no, definitely, it's the multiplier effect is there. It's just how can we benefit from it here? So is it the language? Is it the infrastructure? Is there anything we're not doing that we and I really look forward to seeing how governments and sovereigns and us and everybody will kind of jump into this.
Well, on the positive side, there's no regulatory backlash here, which is really good, because historically our region is like heavy on being highly regulated.
Yeah.
But I think it's changing,
That's
especially in the Gulf, and that's the opportunity.
Yeah.
You see the way the Europeans are just treated like they're just like terrified of it. Whereas here, I've not seen any major regulatory kind of freak out, which is great. So that's the opportunity to kind of.
I think it's the other way around. It's like more of a progressive mindset of seeing how to do it the right way rather than kind of putting too much regulators.
Exactly.
So kind of, you've seen the last 15 years. What's the next 10 years of the ecosystem? AI and beyond AI.
Well, I think we crossed certain very important milestones. So first of all, we're a multi-billion-dollar industry, so it's nice to say.
It's
an asset class now.
It's an actual asset class.
It's small multi-billion, but so considering when we started with zero and now today we have a couple of billion a year in terms of investments. So this is still, just caveat, this is still subscale, right? When compared to where it can go.
Even compared to other emerging markets.
Of course.
It's much smaller than elsewhere.
That's the only probably risk I see on our industry is to kind of remain in that. But things have been growing. So next 10 years, definitely we need to take it from 2 billion a year to 50 billion, 100 billion, because our economies permit that kind of transformation. We're not small economies, so the percentage of that investment, given the size of the economy, has to drastically grow. The talent pool will be completely, reshaped. The contagious effect, the aha moments, I really look forward to them. I look forward also seeing more and more global companies, like global first companies coming out of here, and I see it. Involved in a few that were born here, even in Abu Dhabi. One of them is Fresha, which is a great story that was started here and became a global company. I really look forward to seeing more and more of that global first outlook, because we can do it.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. If you'd asked me this question like 5 years ago, I'd say, global business, very hard from here. But I think between AI, the regulatory environment, just where we are, the availability of talent, I think that's coming. I think you're going to get a lot more global businesses emanating out of here. And I think that's going to happen at an increasing pace.
You're seeing, we spoke about this earlier on, right? You're seeing the region change its narrative, right? It's becoming more of a product for the world rather than just kind of consuming the
Yeah.
different products, right? And you're seeing more technology, whether it's Fresha or Angami or kind of other technology companies kind of now export, not just regionally, but globally, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully kind of, or lucky to be a part of that journey, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, like historically here, we, you know, particularly in the GCC, but across MENA, not just the GCC, I think to your point, it was built on this agency model. I just get a trading model. I import stuff and I sell it locally, and then the government is the major employer and source of capital. I think that's changing very rapidly, where there is hunger for, I mean, consumers want locally designed, made products, whatever they are, digital or offline, I think, or F&B, whatever it is. You're seeing more and more of that, and I think there is that transformation in sentiment, and the economy will transform on the back of that. And so that's exciting, like people building stuff here rather than just import and sell. I think that mindset's starting to change, right? And I think that's going to have a huge impact on the structure of the economy.
Kind of, I want to go back into the personal touch as VCs, right? You know, you're in the risky game, you're investing into risky businesses. You mentioned in the beginning some of the stuff that incentivizes you to keep going. But really, what keeps you sane, you know, as you go through this journey, right? From the early days of creating the VC ecosystem to where you guys are today. Anything that you guys want to point out as being a GP?
What keeps you sane?
No, we're good.
Yeah, I think we're pretty level-headed. I think you have to enter into it with the certain stability. Otherwise, if you're predisposed to kind of ups and downs, it can be quite. If you're not very emotionally stable, I think it's a very difficult business to be in, because there's too many kind of swings, rapid swings, right, between being up on a high and then very low. So I think, you know, seeing a very long-term trajectory rather than the day-to-day is really important.
Would you say there's a difference between kind of being from an emerging market compared to a developed market, if there was a GP there and a GP here?
100%.
Is it more unstable here? Is it?
I don't like these comparisons, because they're very theoretical, and you know, every person has his own experience. I guess lead with a mission is important. You keep the mission alive, reinvent it, believe in it. It's very important to basically any career. Second, I think we're really lucky here. I mean, we're really blessed to be part of something that we never thought it would be, you know, as revolutionary as, you know, supporting entrepreneurship in the heart of the Arab world, and be catalyst of change. I guess I'm always amazed when I meet somebody who says, you know, comes up in a restaurant and says, you know, we worked with this company that you guys backed, or we had this conversation 5 years ago and you helped us kind of tweak our journey from A to B. It's really rewarding. I think you can't put any money on that feeling. That's amazing. Now, you know, we deal with a lot of stuff on a daily basis. Like if we're not fundraising, we're trying to firefight. You know, you spoke about
a lot of firefighting.
Spoke about, like, you know, because in a fund you invest in 17, 18, 19, 20 companies. Only a few pay for the bills, and then the rest are, you know, struggling, and that's part of the journey. And so I guess, I mean, personally, what I find interesting in this job is that somehow not every day is the same. That's cool. So we're grateful for that, at least. And
it's
then
not your 9-to-5 job.
That's
really not.
It never stops. It never stops. No matter what you're doing, you're on the beach, you're skiing, it never stops. It's
and it's like you're saying, because you're meeting. I mean, a big part of the job is meeting founders continuously with new ideas. There's always something new, right? There's never. It's not the same. Kind of. Thing over and over again.
It's different pitches, different entrepreneurs, different mindsets,
different personalities, different, you know, lots going on.
So maybe this is a fun question to ask. Is, you know, you're at the forefront. You see a lot of tech or pitch from a lot of founders. What's one technology, let's say, you would love to see, even if it's not out there, like teleportation, or, you know, what's
teleportation is a good one. I like that.
They're doing it with quantum computers. If you heard the last update, but like, what really would you like to see?
That's a very interesting question. I haven't thought about it.
I think transport generally. I mean, recently you saw there's no innovation in transportation past like 50 years. So You saw the I forget the name of the company, Boom, like the supersonic plane.
Yeah, the planes.
Like
yeah.
more engineering driven, like day-to-day practical solution types of innovations. Transportation, I think, definitely needs to be. I mean, it can't be that we're at the same speed.
It would be really cool
everywhere,
if we
yeah.
could go very fast to other planets and galaxies, and I don't even know if I don't think that's feasible anytime soon. That's almost impossible.
You never know.
But since you asked the question, yeah, that not just transportation. I'm really excited about the developments in DNA and biology for a variety of reasons. I think, not just because we have very little understanding of that, and we have. I think AI would play a tremendous role in understanding genomics, diseases, maybe touches on how the mind works and etc. But also kind of is another subject that kind of dear to my heart, which is history and archaeology. It would be really cool to kind of trace back this human experience that we have and have shed more lights on how did our ancestors live and because fundamentally at every level, when you think about the human journey and the use of technology, we're the only species that we know of that uses tools to make tools.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep coming up with tools that are crazier than others.
We came up with the ultimate tool, AI.
Well, I don't think it's ultimate. I think we're just starting.
It's a
Again,
singularity moment.
Yeah, those are fundamentally predictive tools. So they're here to kind of predict the next move based on what they've known, right? And that could be good in terms of understanding certain next steps that you need to do. But that doesn't solve your interplanetary travel. That doesn't solve a lot of the fundamental questions we have in science. It doesn't really change. I mean, it could change the human
It could
thinking.
help. It's a tool, like you say.
Could help, maybe, as long as it makes us a bit more
There was
nicer.
there was a title that says it's humanity's last invention, AI.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, that's what they said
That would
about
be really
nuclear.
sad.
That's what
If
was
that's the case.
also said about like nuclear power in the way it was going to end
True.
all future
True.
invention. I mean, I'm very wary of these sort of end of history predictions, right? Like, oh, now whether it's in technology or in kind of social movements or political movements, this is the end.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
it
end of
rarely
what?
is. It's always like this kind of big prediction that this is the end of human invention, the end of life, the end of there's a famous one at the end of the Cold War, which is the end of history, as in the liberal order won and it's done. So there's always these things, and they never pan out the way we think, because our societies are very complex machines. Like there's no way to predict where it's going to go, really.
Yeah.
I think before we wrap up, since I have both of you here, it's not usually I have both of you in the same time here. I want you to ask Khalid a question, and Khalid to ask Walid something on a VC aspect or AI aspect. So kind of putting you on the spot there.
What do you want to ask me?
And I'll ask. Let me see. So good. What do I have a burning desire to know?
What are you up to this weekend? Are you still excited about this whole journey? The same way you were?
More so now.
Yeah.
I mean, but it goes up and down for
Yeah.
sure. And if
Yeah.
you ask me, we go to raise our second fund, second half of the year. We were talking earlier, and I have a sense like the environment is harder now compared to when we did the first time round. So it might not be a very fun process. I think people don't underestimate like the not sexy parts of VC, which are like fundraising.
Yeah.
The actual job.
And
Yeah.
people forget you're constantly doing it, right? It's not you just do it once. You're always in that loop of fundraising. On to
Yeah.
the next one and on to
If
the
it's
next one.
not the funds, it's the companies. If it's not
Yeah.
the companies, is
Yeah.
So there's always.
I guess my question is, like you're talking about Fresha, because I always think about this for myself, like the ones that I really regret missing. Look, Fresha is one.
Oh.
So Fresha, I really regret missing. I have a lot actually, but I think Fresha.
No,
is
you
definitely
can't think
there.
like this. Is not a.
Yeah.
This is a
So,
question
but-
off limit
but
for
which-
VCs.
but which, is there one you feel like it was in? You had it.
No,
and you didn't
look.
do it?
No, of course I have a list of entrepreneurs and companies that I passed on, and sometimes for the right reason. Actually, if you think of the companies you passed on, and for years there was FOMO and then ended up becoming
They
disasters,
imploded,
and in the end, and then you adjust that for those who passed on on a FOMO adjusted basis, we're good. But no, I used to. It doesn't bother me that much anymore. Well, honestly, it used to bother me in the beginning. Like, why did we, And it's because at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me that much. I'm like, honestly, and I'm saying this really honestly. It just I have no emotions towards that because you pick a strategy where you want few things to be achieved. First of all, you want to work with people you like. And you're not going to like everybody, and not everybody's going to like you. So welcome, live with it. Second, you sometimes want to get into the right deal early on, because we know that we've been into overhyped, overpriced deals, or terms are not right, etc. And three, you want to enjoy the journey as part of its growth. So I'm very grateful for some of those rocket ship journeys where inside of those journeys there were little bits and pieces of our involvement that kind of changed the dynamic and the history of things. So I don't really know. I don't have regrets. I learned not to really think about it, care of, even if it comes up. And I'm actually honestly very enthusiastic and very happy for those who deserve to be successful, even if I'm not part of their journey. It's all good. It's all gonna come back at some point.
I think the core thing is not about feeling bad or like regretful. It's like, I think you touched on it, which matters a lot. Was a decision made for the right reason?
Yeah.
And you continuously refine your decision making, right? Like that's where, like I dwell on that. Was the decision done well or not?
Yeah.
I think that's what matters.
Yeah, but I mean, learn from it, and right? you take the 20 horrible decisions in the same afternoon, and you're still here going. Alhamdulillah.
Good when you look back.
Yeah.
I don't think you should. It's good when you look back. When you look at it, as an archaeologist would look back at history to kind of come up with a conclusion that this shared, there's shared values in our journey, right? Not necessarily, at least for me, I'm learning how to do it. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. Is that not to say, well, like, did I, make this with this guy? How would he feel? Like, no, it's all good. Consistency over the years, I know it's gonna pan out right. I have that feeling. I'm driven by that feeling. The rest.
One last question before I let you guys go home. Maybe what would you what bold prediction would you give something in 2025? We're still in the early of the year. From a VC angle, from a sector angle, from a GP angle, whatever you want to see it. What bold prediction would you want to give that's coming out of 2025?
In this year, will happen this year.
In let's say MENA, right?
I mean, definitely more IPOs. That's happening. So
from a tech,
that's definitely in train. Don't know how bold that is. It's well known.
I thought about the same thing actually.
I think that's a big one. I'd say. I think it's 2025 into 2026. I expect a rationalization of VC firms. I think there are a lot of firms that were sort of created in the past 4 or 5 years, relatively small. I think some will just, to the point we're talking about what keeps you in the business. I think there's going to be a lot that say, this just not, it was fun when everything just went in one direction, but it's not really like that.
Yeah.
I think you also have people kind of withdrawing or consolidating or something. I suspect something like that.
Kind of maturity of the VC landscape.
Right?
It's the end of a cycle. It's beginning of another
cycle. So you refresh.
I'm excited about IPOs. I mean, if you look at the IPOs since 2020 till today, it's really been
it's impressive.
Really been amazing.
It's a big missing piece of our ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had Talabat, I think a few months ago go IPO.
Yeah.
A
big one.
Not usually you would see tech businesses or startups.
No, a big one. It's great to have the exchanges be part of our ecosystem. At least now, we talk to them.
I think this is just the start of it, Saraha. But thank you again for joining us today's podcast. I hope it was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this insights, and we look forward to continue engaging. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.